cooler. MiniWarGaming's Beat the Cooler Bat Rap!
Hey there, MiniWarGamers. Owen here from MiniWarGaming with Ned to play a 40k game, 1500 points. It's Dark Eldar up against the Imperial Guard. And if you haven't noticed yet, I'm playing Imperial Guard these days because I'm playing Imperial Guard for the next month. So you're going to see every kind of Imperial Guard list I can think of. And this time it's elites with a really ranking general, Creed. So stay tuned for the armies. We're playing a Scouring game. It is Dawn of War. It's not night fighting. We've already rolled for strategic traits, and we haven't rolled for who's going first yet. So here we go. So here is my 1500 point Imperial Guard list. Up front, we've got Creed and Kel, and then 3 guardsmen with grenade launchers. And of course, Kel has the regimental standard. We've got a unit of stormtroopers with 2 flamethrowers, and their sergeant has a power maul. We have another group of stormtroopers with each having a flamethrower and the sergeant with the power maul. We have 2 Valkyries. They are bare-bone Valkyries. I am proxying this as a Valkyrie. I know it's a vulture, but yeah, they're just Valkyries base gear. Oh, they do have heavy bolters. They have that. Then we've got a unit of veterans with a grenade launcher, heavy flamethrower, and Melta. And they're in a Chimera with a dozer blade. We've got the same thing over here. So Sergeant, heavy flamethrower, Melta, grenade launcher. Then we've got a Lehman Russ Punisher with heavy bolter side sponsons and Commander Prask inside of there. And that is my army. All right, pick an end.
You want to start with the HQ at the beginning, in the middle?
Sure. What does he got?
All right, so HQ is Duke Slissus, so he gives 2 combat drug rolls, allows all vehicles to deep strike, and makes his first unit of warriors poison 3+ shots. Behind him is 4 incubi riding in a venom with dual splinter cannons. Then over here on the right is a squad of 10 warriors, just stock, riding in a stock raider. Next to them, 10 witches riding in a raider, stock raider 1 dark lance. Behind them, 5 witches with haywire grenades in a dual splinter cannon venom, and then the identical unit next to them. Next, got 5 scourges with 2 haywire blasters. Next to them is a squad of 6 reavers with 2 heat lances, and behind them 2 Ravagers and a Razorwing jet fighter, all stock except the Razorwing has 1 necrotoxin missile because I had 5 points to kill.
There we go. And Pyramid Head Rat Ogre.
Yes. No name.
No name. He's Rat Ogre. Who's getting first turn? I am. So here we are deployed in the table that we're playing on. Once again, it is a Scouring. And now that we've deployed, we do have to flip all the objectives and see what each one's worth. I want to grab these. So here's the first objective. This one's worth 4 points, which is good for you. This one is worth 2. This one is worth 3. This one is worth 2. And the last one's over there. Here's a lot of the Dark Eldar. More Dark Eldar, and more Dark Eldar. And remember, it is not night fighting this first turn. Here I've got my guard, 1 Chimera, Prask and his Punisher, and then Creed and his bodyguard. And then another Chimera. And what is this objective? 3. Good stuff. So here we go. Can you steal the initiative?
Yes, that's what he is.
6, 2.
And so we start off turn 1 with the Imperial Guard, moving up the Chimera on the left flank there. Just adjusting a little bit, getting into a better firing position. From there, I'm measuring across, trying to find out where I would want to be going with these kind of shots, seeing if I can clean out all of his Dark Lances nice and quick, because those are the things that end up destroying most of my army, seeing as they're his only real anti-armor ranged weapons. Other than that, he does have a couple of the witches that have the EMP grenades or haywire grenades. Right here I move up my tank, making sure it doesn't get immobilized, and just hang out there. Now because of my Warlord trait, I get to roll 3 dice because all models in my army gain stealth ruins and move through cover ruins. And so they get to move 3 inches or 3 dice, choosing the highest when they're moving through cover. So here comes Creed, Kel, and their 3 grenade launching allies there. And from there, I just kind of adjust my Punisher a little bit and forgot to flip an objective there. So there we are. And now I'm going on. The 3 of those guys are going to fire their grenade launchers way over there, aiming for one of his tanks here and trying to find line of sight. Unfortunately, he said afterward that the tips of those don't actually count towards line of sight. So we had a little bit of a debate here and explained what was line of sight on the vehicles. So from now on, we're not counting the fins nor the very tip of it, that last little extra tip on there, as part of the hull. He doesn't usually play like that, and so I didn't. So I fired my scatter laser at a couple of his Calibite warriors just to take some shots. Hitting on 6s with the heavy bolter and 4s with the scatter laser. Scatter laser does 1 wound, but he has a 4-up save because he's sitting in cover, and a 4-up save regardless. So he goes for his save, and he fails it. So we do a wound, and there you go. First casualty of the day. One of the Calibite warriors is killed. So here we go, moving into Dark Eldar turn 1. First thing he does, piles his HQ and his Incubi bodyguard into the, or at least the HQ, the Incubi were already in it, put into his light transport there, the Venom I believe they're called. From there, he goes on to moving his raiders, creeping up the side here. This one jumps up, and now he did a lot of making sure line of sight was just right because he wanted to see through the buildings here. And so he lines up right there and does not get immobilized. The other Venom, it jumps into the terrain there, trying to get a bit of a better cover save as well. But unfortunately, it is immobilized and down to 1 hull point. So it just sits there. There we are. He is stuck sitting there with 1 hull point left and unable to move anymore. Moving on from there, the other raider moves over. This one, it's the bigger version. It's not actually a normal raider. It's the one that has the 3 lances on it. The other one jumps up on top of the rooftop. I'm going to take another dangerous terrain test. This one, though, he does. So he is immobilized up on top of there, which is certainly unfortunate. And then the other tank moves over into the cover over here. And once again, it is going to have to do a dangerous terrain as well, seeing as it's a skimmer ending in difficult terrain. And he's not immobilized. So 2 of them did, though, which was excellent for my forces. The Calibite warriors, now he's a bit of trying to decide where he wants to put them, ends up just moving through cover, and they end up hanging up on top of the building there. So they move up and stay on top. We had agreed ahead of time that each of these levels, every floor in any of the buildings, counts as 3 inches of movement. Takes a shot with his lance at my Chimera and misses. Fires 3 Dark Lancers at the front of my Punisher. He hits with 1. 4 to glance, because it is a lance, so it makes me armor 12. And he gets a pen, and I don't have any kind of cover because there's nothing between he and I. And +2, so he gets a weapon destroyed. Or no, sorry, immobilized. Oh, we messed this up because it should have just been immobilized because it's +2 on what he rolls. Oh no, they're only AP2, that's right. So it's only +1, which makes it weapon destroyed. And because we rolled off, the Punisher's Gatling gun is destroyed. And he's down to 2 hull points. The next Dark Lance fires and hits. Once again, he needs a 4 to glance. And he glances, so I'm down to 1 hull point. And now he's got 1 more of those big tanks firing away. Once again, 3 Dark Lances into my Punisher. 3s to hit. 1 hit, 50-50, 4+, I lose my tank. And I lose it. So it could explode, but it doesn't matter. It's not going to hurt anybody nearby, so it's destroyed, and we just wreck it right there. The Venom then takes a shot at my guys that are hanging out on the edge of the cover there. And he has poisoned weapons, so they're wounding on 4s, re-rolling. And he ends up doing 5 wounds, so I do the first few wounds. They have a 3+ save because they're hanging out in ruins, and they have
Here we
stealth.
are at the end of turn 1. Dark Eldar got first blood by killing my Punisher that had Prask in it. So that was like a 200 point kill right there. And hopefully my reserves come in.
So here we go, rolling for my Valkyries to come in, and they do both come in. Now right here, at the time when we made this game, I hadn't read the FAQ yet, the latest FAQ for the Imperial Guard, which is not that new, it's just I hadn't read it. But anyway, I do scout these I have these come in from the edges. I have them outflank, which is no longer possible. Now they did have veterans inside them, or stormtroopers that could scout, but I don't believe that they would have been able to do that. So I roll off, rolling for outflanking as normal. So the first one comes in on the right side there, and then the other one will come in on the left side. So here come the Valkyries now. Once again, this is entirely possible that it totally screwed how the game would have gone, but we played it out, and you'll see how it goes. So It's not a big difference because I could have come in from the other direction, but just so you're aware, the Valkyries can no longer do this. And unfortunately, we didn't realize it until like turn 6 into the game, or rather even later after the game that we had noticed that. So the Valkyries fly in, they've got their heavy bolters, their 2 missiles, and their scatter lasers. So they cruise up. First thing, checking to see if my Chimera gets immobilized. It does not, so it keeps driving up 6 inches at a time and hangs out right there with its turret facing forward. And I get to... he had me roll another one because he was thinking that like a skimmer where if you begin or end, you have to do a dangerous. With vehicles, it's only once. You do 1 dangerous terrain. Whereas if, like, say you're a jet infantry and you jet it out and then jet it back in the assault phase, or for example, if you were jump infantry and you started and ended in different pieces of terrain, you might have to do 2, but in this case, I passed both anyway. So Creed moves up with his bodyguard, Kel, and his other little servant, and they hang out in the difficult terrain. Now from there we move over to the other Chimera at the other side here, and I just have him rotate. He's not going to move so that he can fire his heavy bolter and scatter laser at full ballistic skill at the vehicle that's on the other side of that vehicle. So here we go. The colored dice are the scatter laser, all hitting on 4s. Look at that roll. 666. And they're armor 10, so I need 4s and 5s. 4 on the colored dice, and I don't get anything. So that's what I get for rolling too good to hit. Moving on from there, we swing across to the other end of the board here, and I have my other tank fire his scatter laser at the bigger version of the Raider. Now the white dice are snap firing, so they're only going to hit on 6s, and I get no hits. So that all misses. I really wish I had my Punisher right now, because with Prask it would have been hitting on 3s and could have been able to take it out. But I have my guardsman fire a crack grenade with his grenade launcher up at the tank that's sitting on top of the rooftop there, and he hits. Now it's strength 6. He's armor 11, so I actually need a 5 to glance. I thought he was only armor 10, but, well, we'll go for it. So 5s and 6s, I get a 6, so it's a pen. And he's immobilized, and unfortunately most of his vehicle is not covered by the terrain, and I roll a 6 for damage, and it blows up. So, good job, guardsman. You blew up that tank with a rocket-propelled grenade. Here we go. My first flyer's coming in, firing all of its weapons, including its missiles, all together at the side of this tank. So 2 heavy bolters and 1 scatter laser. I did take the upgrade for the Sponson heavy bolters. So 2 hits with the scatter laser. The heavy bolters get 1 hit. And now my rockets, they're hitting on 4s as well. Here we go. Blam, 2 hits with the rockets. So here we go, the scatter laser. 1 pen. The heavy bolter. 1... Nothing, actually. He needed a glance. 6 to glance. Now, these are ordnance weapons, so they get 2 dice, and I get to pick the highest. So I get a pen, because I needed a 5. Or I need a 3, rather. And the second shot, I get a pen. So that's 3 pens and 1 glance. And he'll get his cover save against that. So here we go. 5 up on the glance. He fails. And 5 up on the 3 pens. Ooh, he fails only 1. Actually, you know what? I think we have him re-roll that. No, and it blows up, so unfortunately that is destroyed. And it's gone. So I finally kill one of the raiders. Boom. My next flyer comes in, shooting at the back of the Venom that's carrying all of his characters in it. So literally the same dice rolls. First we have the scatter laser. All hit. And then we use the heavy bolters. They get tons of shots, once again hitting on 4s. Hopefully a little bit more accurate than the last batch, but not quite. So they get 1, and then my 2 1-shot per game missiles, once again hitting on 4s, and they both hit. So there we go. We've got 2 missiles, 1 heavy bolter, and 3 scatter lasers. Scatter lasers need 4s to hit, or 4s to damage. Heavy bolter needed 5, so it didn't do anything there. Here we go, 4s on the scatter laser. We get 1 pen, 1 glance. And then these ones are 2d6 pen, 2 to glance. They get a glance, and then the second one, pen. So we've got 2 glances, 2 pens. And he has a 5-up save against this because they have a permanent 5-up invuln. And so here we go. 5+, and the colored dice are the pens. 1 pen got through. He actually, there it is. There's the 5-up he makes, and it only does a 2, so he can only snap shoot out of that. But that's it. So we're rolling for reserves now, and his Scourges don't come in, but thankfully his Warlord trait takes effect, which at first he thought it was just the +1/+1, but I believe it was the rerolls to get reserves back. So we had a little bit of talk about that, and so he goes to reroll, and they're in. The Bikers, they then come in, and the Flyer, reroll, and he's in. So he got everything he wanted as well. So here we go, bringing in the Scourges. Now they scatter 8 inches, but luckily it doesn't land them in terrain or off the board, or on my guys for that matter. So they land right over there, which will keep them in range with their guns, and they have haywire guns as well. Now the Bikers over here, he brings them in, they just fly in 12 inches, and unfortunately for me, they have skilled riders, so they won't be taking dangerous terrains. Over here, his Flyer comes in from behind as well. Now he's rolling difficult terrain where he wants to move his Calibite warriors, and a little bit of a debate where he wants to go with them. And they end up just going on there. From there, he moves on to his Venom that is carrying his Lord as well as those Incubi, and it cruises over headed towards my Flyer, and then he has his other Raider move out. This is the last surviving Raider, other than the one that's hiding behind the wall over there. But this one does still have its Dark Lance, so it can cruise around and shoot and blow up my tanks fairly easily, because it is a lance weapon after all. So he jumps out. Then we have the Venom over here at the very far right side of the board, zipping back and forth, trying to find places where he can take shots at my Lord Creed. So here we go, taking shots at Creed and his little bodyguard. Tons of hits, wounding on 4s. And he only gets 1, so unfortunately he doesn't get the reroll to wound because you don't get it from ranged, is what he was telling me. So I fail my save, and my bodyguard goes down, or my Grenadier goes down. Grenadier. There we go. Anyway, 3 wounds. Kel does a save on a 3+. Now Creed on a 3+. He fails both. Creed goes down to 1 wound. Whew, that hurt. So here we go. Dark Lance into the front of the Chimera. Hits. 4 to glance. No, not a glance. So here we go. So shooting the other one. Miss. And now he's going to shoot his Flyer at the back of my Flyer. He gets 1 hit, and he gets a pen and does a 1. So it can only snap fire next turn, and is down to 2 hull points. Here we go. He's got his Bikers. They're going to turbo boost, and they can move 36 when they turbo boost, and they have skilled rider. So we'll just speed it up a little bit here because they fly all the way across the board and hang out over there. Now he shoots his haywire grenades at the side of my tank, glancing 2 to 5, so he does a glance. So I am actually obscured though, so I'll have a 5-up cover save because part of my tank is hidden, but not enough of my tank to be alive right now. So I take a glance and I'm down to 2. Here we go, moving into the Imperial Guard turn. My Valkyrie switches into hover mode and moves 6 inches and then ends up sitting on the terrain there, so I will have to do a dangerous terrain. Now I adjust the base a little bit here because I just don't want it to fall, which I'm sure everyone can agree with that if it comes down to it, it's better to be a little bit flexible if it means not smashing your models, because no one likes to do that. And so then everyone inside disembarks, and that'll be great for them. After that, and of course we're having a little bit of a debate about whether or not I need to do it dangerous, and I'm not. So he's fine, seeing as he got immobilized a whole bunch during this game so far. Wanted to make sure that I was getting my chance to get immobilized as well. So moving through cover, because they can jump out of the vehicle there, right? So they jump out, move through cover 5 inches. They can get out anywhere within 5 of that Flyer. And so they all pile around. Now, I wanted to stand a bunch of them on top of that destroyed land speeder kind of terrain there, but unfortunately, they don't balance whatsoever. So I balanced a few of them just standing on the front of his base. Now, we agreed that they're standing a little bit further forward, but just for the sake of not dropping the pewter models all over the place, they just kind of lined up around here. And there we go. Everybody's out. Over the other end, we switched to the other Flyer, and I was debating what I want to do with that, whether I want to go into hover mode or not. And in the end, I decide, you know what? I'm going to go into hover mode. So it decides to move 6 and just stay right there, and everybody is going to disembark. Well, first we got to turn a little bit more because he's got a bright or dark lance looking at me from behind. So they disembark like that. He has that one sitting in the woods there, and I didn't want it getting free shots on me. So they're going to jump out into the terrain there. How far do they go? Thanks to the Warlord trait, they get 3 dice, pick the highest. They go 3. And of course, it has side and back doors, so they jump out the side as well as the back and all line up right there. Moving on from there, we move over to the other end of the board where I've got my 2 chimeras. Does it get immobilized? Nope. It is not immobilized. So it will continue to move along. And I was debating whether I want to disembark here, and I do. So I move 6, and now it's going to disembark all of its infantry 6 inches, and they're going to go blow up all of those little critters. So everybody jumps out, and they did their move through cover, so they get to land within 6. They rolled a 6 anyway. We put the heavy flamethrower up front, and then everybody else with their meltas and las guns hang out around the broken down tank, looking at Prask, wondering what happened to him. And they all defend there. So here we go, 2 flamethrowers from the stormtroopers aiming for these guys. So here we go. We do 3 wounds to them so far. And then from there, the rest of the stormtroopers fire. Hitting on 3s. Wounding on 4s. And they get 5 wounds. Now, unfortunately, I can't see very many of them, so I can only actually do 4 wounds at best. And he fails 4. So I did the 4 wounds that I could do, and that's it. Tons of 6s there. Lots of 6s to hit. I ended up hitting on like 6s with like 8 of them. I'm like, oh, that should have been great. But anyway, moving on to the tank here, taking a scatter laser shot at his venom right there. 4 hits, and here we go. I already used my rockets, so I'm unable to use those. So here we go, 5s to glance on the heavy bolters, nothing. 4 on the big one, pen, and he's got a 5-up save. And he fails it, so they are now out in the open. Does it explode? Dice +1. It does blow up. How big is the explosion? 2 inches. So it saves my guys, but all of his guys inside, his Incubi and his Lord, all take the hit. And 3 of them have to do saves because they are only toughness 3 on average. So here we go, 3+ on the Incubi. And one of them dies. So he does lose an Incubi to the explosion of their vehicle, which is certainly unexpected anyway. Like, I'm glad it happened, but I was just surprised. I didn't think he would fail that. So here we go, leadership test for pinning, which they easily pass. Moving on from there, I fired 2 of my flamethrowers, as well as every one of my stormtroopers at his leaders there. Here we go, the flamethrowers got a bunch of hits and wounds. Now the regular guys are firing away, and they get tons of wounds, AP 3 guns. So here comes the flamethrowers first. Look out, sir. He looks out all of them. And now they have a 3-up save on the Incubi. And he fails 1. And the other one. So 2 of them are dead so far. Now moving on to that, we have the AP3 las guns. Now he is a 2-up invuln until he fails it. So he'll have 2+ saves against every one of these shots unless he messes the first one, or messes them up. Which he of course messes up the first one, so his save goes from a 2+ to a 6+. And that's quite upsetting because that means that he's in a lot worse shape than he had. So up he goes, 6-up. Fails them all, and the Incubi has no save, so everybody's dead. And I slay his Warlord. Here we have my tank firing its scatter laser at the front of his tank, which misses every time. And the heavy bolter hitting on 6s gets 2 hits, and then 5s to glance. It unfortunately does not get any. In the back here, we've got the heavy flamethrower shooting at the Scourges. Strength 5, AP 4, Assault 1 does 5 wounds, and they don't have a save. So he decides to... Oh, he did have a 6-up, but unfortunately it was not enough. Over here, I've got my tank firing at his tank behind the wall, and 2 hits with a heavy bolter. And the guy inside of it, which I had forgotten about, could shoot a crack grenade, and he hits. So 4 to glance with the crack grenade, pen, and 5s to glance. Nothing. So 1 pen, he's got a 4-up save against it because he's behind the ruins. And he fails it. So dice +1 on whatever I roll because he's open topped. 4, which is weapon destroyed, and he only has a Dark Lance, so he loses his Dark Lance. Over here, I forgot to move my commander in the movement phase, so Creed only gets to run. And he runs 2 inches and hangs out. I also forgot to give out orders because I am just messing up all over the place this game. Moving on from there, we head into the beginning of the Dark Eldar turn. We forgot about his morale check on his Calabite warriors, who actually failed their morale and run 7 inches, which is enough to take them off the board, and so that unit is destroyed, which is certainly unfortunate for those Calabite warriors. And so we move on to the other side of the board. Now the Raider over here has lost its Dark Lance, so it can unfortunately just move up, and it of course gets immobilized as well, going down to 1 hull point and has no weapons, but it is still filled with witches who all jump out and head towards my tank, and they of course are a far better close combat unit than anything my little guardsmen can muster up, other than Ogrins, but they're not in this fight. So here we go. His jet bikes jump around the corner again, getting behind my Chimera there, and his flyer jumps 18 inches to jump to the other side of my flyer, and he can take pot shots at my other flyer. Here the Raider turns around, pointing its Dark Lances right at my poor Valkyrie, as though he was planning on shooting it. And then from there he has his Venom over here. He's debating what he wanted to do, and then finally decided to just jump around again and take more shots at Creed. So here we go, firing his Hell Lances, or Hell Lasers, or something like that at my tank. They're basically Lance Meltas. And he gets 1 hit. So 2d6 pen, because it has the Melt ability, and because it's Lance, so it's only strength 6 though. But he does get a pen because it's my rear armor of 10. And so dice +2. 4, weapon destroyed. So 4+, it'll be my turret, and a 1 to 3, it'll be the heavy bolter. So 4+ is the turret, and it is. So there goes my scatter laser. And he's down to 2 hull points. But I survived, which is what I wanted. Now these guys, the witches, they end up doing a run. Now they have a special ability to move 3 dice in their runs, as well as having fleet allows them to re-roll it. So they run back and take cover in this building because he does not want to get counterattacked by that Chimera that survived his attack. Especially because it's filled with angry veteran guardsmen with a heavy flamethrower and meltas and a grenade launcher, as well as a few las guns just for fun. Here we go, taking a Dark Lance at my Valkyrie, which does not glance, so that's unfortunate for him. Here he goes, firing more weapons into the front of my other tank, or my other flyer rather. He gets 1 hit with the Dark Lance, 4 to glance. He does get 1. Now I have a 5-up jink after he fires his blast weapons, so he actually will hit 5 guys on the bottom as well as the flyer. But it doesn't scatter because he's ballistic skill 4, and the second one, 2 inches, which will basically hit everyone anyway. And so he gets a bunch more. Does not hurt the flyer, but he gets 11 against my infantry, and he gets all of them. So the first 6 will get cover saves. They have a 3+. And then they decide that they're actually going to go to ground against these attacks. So they're down to a 2-up save. And they fail 2. And a 3rd one. So 3 of them, and the last one more, 4 of them. So 4 of the 6 that were in cover were killed, which kills Flamethrower, Sergeant, Flamethrower, and those 2. So there we go. 4 of them have been destroyed at that point. And I did dodge the glance that came after my flyer because skimmers get jink if they move. Now he's taking more shots at Creed once again. Gets tons of wounds, and Creed has decided that he's going to go to ground. They have a 2+ save. 2 of them I can look out at a time because Kel has only 2 wounds. So I pass 1, fail 1. Kel takes a wound. Creed saves it. So I can only look at one of these because Kel's only got 1 wound. Passes. Kel has a 2-up. Passes. Look out, sir. Fails. 2+. Passes. Look out, sir, on Creed. Fails. 2-up save. Passes. Just one after another. Failed my lookout, sir. But passed the save. And passed the lookout, sir. And a 2-up. He saves. So they're okay. They're both fine, except for that Kel did lose a wound. He's down to 1. He now takes a bunch of shots with his Venom into the back of my Stormtroopers who are hanging out there. and gets 4 wounds. And now it turns out that he actually does, it's only AP 5, so I get saves, and only one of them dies instead of 4. We thought it was AP 4 at first. The witches on the other side that had jumped out of the venom over here run, and they go 6 inches through the difficult terrain, heading up closer towards my Chimera and the squad that is now trapped on this side of the bridge with all of these Dark Eldar. The jet bikes here, though, they get to make a assault move, so they get to move 2d6 in the assault phase, very much like the jetpacks on my Tau, or just like the Eldar jet bikes, the normal Eldar. And so he jumps back, trying to get his
So here we are at the end of
hell
turn 3.
lances behind
We're about to
there.
move into turn 4, and things are looking pretty good for the guard. Though they're in a bit of rough shape. But we've still got some objectives. We got this one, we have that one. But he's easily got this, but we're going to contest it this turn. And here we go, turn 4.
So here we are, turn 4. I'm staying in hover mode, and I decide that I'm just going to rotate my flyer a little bit, zip over to the objective, and point towards his flyer, because I want to try and destroy it. My other flyer, it moves up, staying in hover mode as well. Just kind of drifting 6 inches to the other side of that terrain, and balancing him such a way that he won't fall off the table or stumble over. And this group, they actually have to do a morale check because they lost so many, but they stay pinned and hang out on the ground. The Chimera moves up, and then at first I was going to face it towards his venom, but I decided to turn it because I want to try and block shots going at Creed, and once again, it is not immobilized. The other infantry in the back there, I was deciding what I want to do with them, but in the end I decide that I'm just going to keep them in cover. So the other group that is in the tank that lost its scatter laser, they decide that they're going to back up but not get out. I was thinking about getting out, but if I get out I'm just asking those witches to come assault me, so instead I'm going to try and kill them just by shooting out of the back of my truck. And so it turns and faces them, and after that I move on to my other end of the board where I want to get my stormtroopers moving through cover so they can get to the other side of that wall and get a cover save against the venom shots that are coming at them. And so they just kind of pile around there, hanging out on the other side of the wall once they all jump over and take cover. So everyone's kind of shimmying back and forth. Those guys can move around and everyone can move back just to get everyone behind the cover there. But their job is basically done. They came in, they blew up some stuff, and now they're going to hide and hope that the game ends with them still alive. So they take cover right there. Now at the other end of the board, once again, I was trying to decide whether I wanted to get out. These guys, I end up deciding to move them after all, just to get them a little bit further into cover, make sure that everybody's nice and solidly wrapped around the objective. And because Creed is still alive, they get to move 3 dice distance, and they got a 6. So they all hang out around the objective there and get ready for the attack that they know is going to come, whether it's from the flyer, but hopefully we can kill that this turn, seeing as I have both of my flyers pointed at it, and it's only armor 10. So here we are, shooting at that flyer first with my first. So the blue ones, or the colored ones, are his scatter laser. The rest are all of his heavy bolters. And then I asked, does he want to jink? That was a miss too. And so he actually has a permanent 5+ invuln. So he decides that he's not going to jink. 4s on the green, 5 on the whites. I get 2 glances. So he's got 2 5-ups so far, because he has a permanent 5-up invuln apparently. And fails both. He is down to 1 hull point already. So the other flyer, it's going to actually do the exact same thing and fire its heavy bolters and scatter laser at the same thing. 4s to hit. Not quite as lucky. I missed with all my scatter lasers, but I just need 5s on these dice, which I don't get any. Uh-oh. So it survived. I decide to fire my scatter laser on my tank against his venom. 2 hits, and then 4s to glance. Nothing. Darn. And then from there we move on to the other end of the board as we slowly wrap around here, because this is the other fight that's going to matter quite a bit. So I have the guys inside take shots at his jet bikes. So the heavy flamethrower comes out, hitting 4 of them, and then I fire 3 of my las guns. So here comes the las guns. Now they are veterans, so they actually hit on 3s as opposed to the normal ones, but they're only wounding on 5s because he's got +1 toughness for being on a bike. So we've got 2 wounds so far. We've got 4 with the flamethrower because they were each able to hit 2. And now the grenade launcher, I decide that I'm actually going to shoot a blast weapon, or a frag grenade anyway, which misses and ends up going way out there. Doesn't hit them in the end. So here comes the flamethrower, wounding on 3s. I get 3 wounds, and it's actually, because it's a heavy flamethrower, it's AP 4, and he gets no cover, which means he dies. And he fails 2 saves against the las guns. So 5 of them are destroyed outright. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the 5th one gets killed as well. So there's only the one guy left there. But at first, then I realized that I don't actually have line of sight on that guy, and I can't kill out of my line of sight, so he stays, and he's not killed. Moving into the Dark Eldar turn, his flyer zooms off, heading across the board, working its way towards where all my infantry are hanging out on top of that objective, because once again, it is an objective game, so whoever is holding more points wins, regardless of how many actual models you have left. So it flies way across the board, landing on the other side, getting ready to fight over there, as these jet bikes jump out to grab this objective, or at least contest it, while destroying my tank at the same time. Though actually, they would hold it right now. But it doesn't matter. So they move around. The witches are now moving through cover. And they get a 5, and he does his fleet to re-roll. So he still gets only a 5 inches, so they just kind of wrap around the edge, getting closer to the tank so that they'd be able to fight it on the next attack. Or at least the next round, any survivors from... if they're able to blow it up with his Melta Lances, which I think with Melta Lances you can do it. So the witches all wrap around the corner, getting themselves in a better position as they line up to charge there. The other witches in the back, they do their fleet and moves, or rather they don't do fleet, they move through cover, move up 6 inches, getting to the other side of the wall there, near the immobilized, weaponless, one hull point raider. And so from there, he ends up just bringing the rest of the unit around because he just wants to have as many guys over here as he can, because they are troop units after all, so they can hold and contest objectives. The last raider on this side of the board that still has a Dark Lance just moves and gets ready to fire, and the Venom here moves forward, getting ready to attack. He moves up 6 and does not get immobilized, and then the guys inside will be disembarking as well. Or it'll shoot, one of the two. So now he's firing his 2 heat lances at the side of my tank and gets a pen, second shot. Pen, so it is dead. Does it explode? He got it twice, so 2 explosions, so we'll just see which one. And it does blow up. So how big is the explosion going to be? Will it catch him as well? Yes, it does. So his 2 guys, I do get a wound. He's got a 4+. So he needs a 4 up because he has 5+ plus 1 because of skilled rider, and he makes them. My guys inside, they need to make 4 up saves, and 3 of them die. So we lose 3 las guns, and they're on the ground, and they are pinned. So they're stuck. Now he's taking shots at them. 1 hit with the witches, and no wounds. Dark Lance into the side of my flyer now, hitting on 3, wounding on a 4, or glancing on a 4 rather, and he does not. He fires his other Venom at my Stormtroopers, tons of shots here, and 3 wounds. Here we go, 3+ save. And 2 of them fail. So 2 of my Stormtroopers go down. And I tried to look out so it wouldn't kill my Sergeant, but I failed, so my Sergeant dies. Here we are taking more shots with his Venom, and gets a couple of wounds on them. So they decide that they're going to go to ground for a 2+, and one of them fails. And they tried to look out the Sergeant, which they succeed. And so a little las gun guy next to the Sergeant gets killed. Now we're moving on to his fighter bomber there, and it is going to try and destroy all of my infantry that are hanging out, gone to ground on the objective there. So first missile hits, well, 2 inches, so it basically hits them all. And the second one, this is a necrotoxin missile, and basically the same thing going the other direction, another 2 inches, which still hits quite a few of them. So in the end, we agreed that with the 2 Dark Lances as well, wounding on 2s. So he gets 2 wounds with the Dark Lances. Monocyte, he needs 2s. He gets 5. And then the 2+ wound to poison, another 4. So everyone gets a 2 up though, thanks to the fact that they've gone to ground with stealth. So 3 of them are down. Sergeant and the 2 guys. And that's that. Here we go, grenade toss at my vehicle. He missed. So now they're going to charge. Now we made a mistake here. we weren't thinking that he was rolling 3 dice because he's charging through cover, because right now he's failed that charge and he would have to re-roll. And so he re-rolls, and he actually should have failed this charge. It wasn't 6 plus that one, it was -6, so we took away the highest. So we added as though he had a 9-inch charge, but that's okay. He makes it across the board and engages the Chimera. But he did move at least, so it'll at least be 3s to hit. Now he's going to charge against my bikers. Now they get to overwatch. Here comes the flamethrower, hitting twice. 3s to wound. Gets 1. So 1 dies, and now I'm going to roll everyone else. 6s. 1 and a 5. Yep. And the grenade. Nope. And the melta. Nope. So here we go. 1 4-up save. 50-50. He lives. Yes, he does. And so now he'll assault my infantry on the ground there, which we do have to roll, but he's basically in, because he does have skilled riders, so he'll be ignoring the difficult terrain slow. So he's in. Because now normally you would go last because he's assaulting someone in cover and he doesn't have grenades, but because I went to ground, we actually strike at normal initiative. So he goes first. And unfortunately he's now rolling to see whether or not his witches can make it. And they only get a 5. He needed 7 inches to get that charge. So the witches do not also join in. Hammer of Wrath attack. Hits and does a wound. So I'd have a 4+ save. And I make it. So now everyone gets to pile in and do their attacks back. And so I mess up because I moved in, but then I remembered at this point that he gets to go first because I had gone to ground. So he hits 3 times, 4s to wound. 1 wound, 4+, and I make it. So everyone gets to attack back, hitting on 4s, wounding on 5s. They get 1 wound, so he has another 50-50 whether he's removed. And alright, we'll re-roll that. Alright, we'll re-roll that. And there we go. So he makes it. And he actually only had a 5+ because he didn't have his stealth right now. He attacks against the side of my tank, and he, because it was corked, it was a reroll. Now glancing on 2s, easily enough glances, but he did get a pen. Does it explode? Because it would hurt him as much as it hurts me. It does not. So that is the end of my Chimera, and he has free reign on Creed now. Imperial Guard turn begins, and these guys, now that they're no longer gone to ground, get up and move back towards the flyer, and they end up jumping back inside. So they all jump back in because it's still in skimmer mode. Then the flyer, of course, after doing that, moves 6 inches and parks right on top of there and points and faces down that raider. The other fellas, they're going to jump in, running to the side of that tank, or side of the flyer, and mounting back up again. And it as well is going to stay in hover mode and try and find out where it's going to go, which is a little bit forward and facing the back of his plane. Little inches aren't going to make a big difference with the planes because they have tons of space to fly wherever they want. Moving over, we've got Creed and his buddies there. Now I remember to move through cover this time, and I get 5 inches, so I can finally get moving from here. And so they move 5, and they hang out beside one another, and each of them only has 1 wound left. And yeah, so they're at 1 wound each, so they're hanging out in the open. Hopefully they don't get killed, but we'll see what we can do. So I check around. They've gone to ground, the other group's engaged, so we're moving on to shooting. This fire, the Valkyrie firing at all of its guns at the back of the other flyer. Once again, the colored dice are the scatter lasers. 4s and 5s. We get 1 glance, and he has his 5 up, which he fails. So that is the end of that flyer because it was down to 1 hull point. It crashes. Now it's possible it could actually get somebody, but it gets a direct hit and lands on itself, and that is the end of his flyer. Boxcars and an arrow. Unfortunate. Over here, we're going to shoot all the witches with my other flyer here because I want to try and save Creed. Tons of shots, get a few hits with my heavy bolter, and they're going to wound on 2s all round. 4 wounds, 3 of them they don't get saves. 1 of them, though, they will get the save from. 6 up. Nope. So 4 of them are dead. There's just 1 witch left. Which even Creed should be able to take down 1 witch, right? Even Creed? He's not the best, though, at fighting at all. In any way. And so they all hang out right there. Moving on, Creed and Kel. So here comes 1 hit and 4 to wound. Nope. Now Kel's pistol hits and forced to wound. Does not wound. That's it. So over from there, we're going to move on to these guys. Snap firing shots at the witch there. We've got a few surviving las guns. And 6s. We get 1, 2. And the grenade. It was the 3, so it's a miss. And here we go. Now I need 4s to wound. 1, 2. Here we go. Can he make his 6 up? He didn't make... Oh no, he had a 4 up cover save. That's right. And he still did not make it. So that is the end of the witches. Close combat begins. The raider gets to go first, or the Dark Eldar fella. He gets 1 hit, and then 2 hits, and then forced to wound. He does 2 wounds, and I have 2 4+s, and 1 gets through. So I lose 1 more guy. I get to attack back. My sergeant and his surviving buddies there. Reroll that one because it was not quite a 6. And so you get 4 hits and wounding on 5s. Nothing. And so I lose by 1, so they're leadership 7. They fail. And now they do an initiative chase. And of course his initiative is 2 higher than mine and he rolls a 6. So my unit of guardsmen is wiped out and he now holds that objective with 1 single jet bike. Dark Eldar turn begins. Potentially the last turn of the game as it moves over. Basically he has to kill one of my flyers. All the other things here don't really matter because the 2 flyers are able to destroy his guys that are on the objectives, as well as they're holding the most expensive. They're holding the 4 and the 3. So if I can hold those 2 and kill his biker, then I'll win the game. So his biker, he ends up deciding to jump over and having the witches head over to grab the objective. So the witches, they move 6, and then they'll of course get to run. So first this group of witches heads up towards the 4, because if they can contest that, then he'll basically guarantee the win. But if I can kill them, then I win. So we'll see how it goes. Move through cover for the other witches. They get a 5, and then he fleets for still a 5. And so they move 5 inches heading towards the objective, which now that they can run 3, they're most likely going to make that little jog over there. So the witches all pile up. Over here, he has his jet bike jump across the ledge, getting in range so that he can start taking shots at my flyer. First Bright Lance fires. Hits, forced to glance. Nothing. All right. And then we're gonna do the heat laser on the other guy. 3 to hit. Here we go, the heat lance, and he misses. And that's unfortunate. So now he's gonna take tons of shots with his venom at Creed, who is finally not in cover. So he gets 4 wounds. Look out, sir, to Kel. Made it. Kel gets the hit. 4+. Fails it. So there's 2 left. Here we go. 4+ on Creed. And he's dead. So that is the end of my command. I lose stealth. I lose move through cover. Everybody has a lot of trouble. So then he gets to move through cover with 3 dice, or run with 3 dice because he's witches. And so off they go, making it across that objective, or rather across that difficult terrain to the objective, and is now being held by the Dark Eldar. Over here he's got the other witches, they're running as well, and they of course get to choose 3 dice, or take 3 dice, choose the highest for 6, and so they're up on that bridge, that little bit closer to stealing that objective from me and my Valkyrie. So everybody moves up. And then at the end, his jet bike gets to move 2d6. 5 inches. Not enough to get back across the river, but it is enough to jump over and steal that objective. Once he realizes that he can do that. There we go.
So here we are at the end of turn 5, potentially the last turn of the game. Right now, the Dark Eldar are in the lead because they're holding 2 points, 5 points, 6 points for my Warlord, 7 points for First Blood, and 8 points for Linebreaker. I'm holding 1 point, 3 points for 4, 5 for Slay the Warlord, and 6 for Linebreaker. So he's ahead by 2. So this objective right here is making him lead right now. So roll a dice. 1 or 2, the game ends.
This will be the time I can't roll a 1.
Roll it again. There's your 2, but here we go. 1, 2.
Spawning your next turn.
5. Game goes.
So the game goes on, and now my stormtroopers all jump out of the back of that Valkyrie, or the side of that Valkyrie, because it does have side and back entrances. So they all jump out, making sure the flamethrowers are up front. Now, unfortunately, they don't balance very well on the edge of this ramp, so I just kind of place them at the base of the ramp. We agree that they're standing right behind the other fellas, though. So they sit there. Now, the flyer can then still move 6 from there. He moves back to grab the 4-point objective that I had flown just a little bit too far away from, or else it wouldn't have been a matter whether he ended or didn't end the game last time. This flyer, it does a little bit of a hop, getting itself into a same or at least decent firing line. And from there, I'm just debating what I want to do with my shooting at this point, because I have to kill that jet bike. That's the thing that has to die, as does the Bright Lance, or Dark Lance rather. So here come the Casterkins, the Stormtroopers. They're going to shoot at the witches. And first things first, we have our flamethrower. So we've agreed that they are on the ramp directly behind, just like how mine are. So I get tons of hits on the flamethrowers, and they're wounding on 3s. And there we go. So I did 4, 5, 6, 7. And they only have a 6 up, unless they're in close combat, so they're dead. Good flamethrowers. They really stop him in his tracks. But he had no choice. He had to try and move forward there. There was nowhere else he could really go. Flyer's now going to shoot at that jet bike, because I really need to take it down in order to win this game, or at least to have a better chance of winning this game. And tons of hits with the scatter laser and heavy bolters. They're all wounding on 3s and 2s. 3 4-up saves now. But unfortunately he fails one of those saves, and that is the end of his jet bike. From there we move over to the other Valkyrie, who's going to shoot at that Raider that's right beside him, because I just want to get as many hits on it as I can, because if I can take this thing out, then I will have effectively won. He won't be able to kill my flyers, and I'll be holding the most expensive scenarios thanks to hover mode. Here we go, 5s to glance. I get 2 pens, and he has just his 5 up to try and protect him. And he fails them both. So I get +1 on each dice roll. And I get 2s. So they can only snap shoot. But he's still alive with 1 hull point left, which is certainly hard to deal with. Over here, these guys, they shoot 1 crack grenade at the Venom. They're not on the ground anymore, so he hits. And he needs a 4 to glance. He gets a 1. So nothing happens. So I get, or the Dark Eldar get their turn. Once again, he's going to fire his Dark Lance, because that's really all that matters. It's the one that's going to get me off of the most valuable objective. But he does fly over with his empty Venom towards my infantry. And then he debates otherwise, because he remembered that I have a Melta sitting right there. And in the end, he just sits there. The Witch is getting a better position, all taking up around the objective there, making sure that it's surely theirs, even if I were to like jump over and kill 1 or 2. But I don't expect or plan on doing that, because if I can kill the Raider, I win. He can't stop me from winning, because he won't have any more Dark Lances. So they run. Here he goes, firing the Venom at my infantry that's hanging out in the ruins. Gets a few wounds, and I have a 4-up save, which I fail all 3. So 3 of them are killed, and they will have to do a leadership check. They're only leadership 7, because their sergeant died a little while ago. And there we are. So leadership, they pass, barely. So they barely pass. He's going to take a snapshot now with his Raider, which misses.
So here we go. It's 9-6 for the Imperial Guard. 1, 2, 3, the game ends. Nope. He's going to just rotate and stare him down, because if these 2 can kill him, then it's game over. So here we go. Everybody's shooting them. The color dice are the scatter lasers.
Here we go. Just spawn.
And they know what's up. They know that it's all up to them. So every scatter laser hit. 4 is on the colored, 6 is on the, or 5's on the white. So 1, 2, 3 pens, and 1 glance.
All right.
There. The glance is the colored one. Here we go. 4 5 pluses. And
That's
none.
none.
Yeah, so that is the end that is the end.
Good game.
And it was an Imperial Guard victory at the end there. I'll show you what's going on here, Mini Wargamers. So we've got Linebreaker, because I have a fast attack in his deployment. 4 points, because they're holding this one. And then there's a 3-point underneath this guy's base. There it is. And he's got that 3-point and Linebreaker as well. We both have Slay the Warlord, and he had First Blood. And I also own that objective right there for the 1 point. So in the end, it was 9-6 in the end. Yeah, that's what we counted out. And stay tuned, MiniWarGamers is going to do a post-game. And leave a comment below if we missed anything. It's entirely possible we missed rules, because we are still... And I understand that I forgot to issue orders every turn. I brought Creed specifically because I wanted to issue orders, so I could try that kind of army out, and I didn't. So, yeah. I understand you don't have to tell me that I should have done that. But... Anyway, leave other comments though. Let us know if we made any rules mistakes and what you think of the Conqueror of Cities Warlord trait, seeing as it's incredibly powerful and won me the game. Happy wargaming.